Hi there, Coach Weber here. I want to talk today about 3 traits to frame the mind for success. These are 3 things that I really try to talk a lot about with my wrestlers, especially at the beginning of the season to prepare them for the challenges of the season. And if they get these 3 traits down, they really understand them by the time they leave my program, athletically, academically, they're going to be more prepared for just life in general. And the 3 traits are: be coachable, stay positive, and accountability. And I'm going to go into a little bit more depth here. Be coachable. So, you get a lot of times when you're giving instructions, talking about what the wrestler, what your athletes need to be doing inside the room, outside the room. Um, I, there's always an easier way than what the coach is telling you. And I make sure my wrestlers know that, anytime you're trying to do something difficult and you have a mentor, you have a coach, you have a teacher trying to give you proper instruction, don't look for an easier way. If they say, hey, you got to do X, Y, Z to achieve your goal, don't automatically start calculating an easier way to get there. Okay, just buy in. If you have a good coach, you have a good teacher, you have a good mentor, buy into what they're saying and don't be afraid of the difficulty. Okay, just buy in and start working towards it. Because number 2, you're always going to find somebody to tell you the easier road is acceptable. Whether they just don't know, what they haven't been there, they feel sorry for you, they just want you to like them, whatever it is. If you're trying to find the easier road and you look hard enough, somebody's going to agree with your path, and then they're not there. They're not looking out for your best interest. So I try to make my wrestlers understand that don't look for easier ways, and you're always going to find somebody to agree with you. So if you're looking for that justification, it's going to be there, but it's still not the right path. And life will be much easier if you're coachable. I try to get my athletes to understand this too. You're going to get better quicker. You're going to have more success. You're going to have more confidence when you do compete, and you're not always going to be looking over your shoulder. So a lot of times you get athletes that when you tell them they got to do this, inside the room, outside the room, no matter where it is, they're always looking for a shortcut. They're always looking for an easier way, and it's a drain on them personally because number one, they typically don't have the success that they should. They don't have the confidence in the tough situations. And they're always sneaking around. If they're not doing the right thing outside the room, their parents might be on them. The coaches are on them. They're not having the success that they should. It's just all around a drain on everybody around them, and especially themselves. And it's just not a productive way to go. And I put in there the Mountain Dew example because I've had wrestlers that we go to weigh-ins, maybe a weigh-in meal or a restaurant before we wrestle. And I will say, okay, let's drink water. Let's get rehydrated, get ready for competition. And I've had wrestlers that just right in front of me, after I gave them those instructions, would go get a Mountain Dew and have them with dinner. And they didn't think it was a big deal, but I knew if they were doing that right in front of me and they couldn't follow those instructions, I knew that was spreading much further. And those kids typically were not performing up to their ability, and just all around we're not getting the job done. So if they're not following instructions right in front of you, then that's definitely spreading to other areas. And I just try to get them to understand that the easiest way to success is to be coachable. Be positive. Okay, anyone can be positive when it's all good. When everything's going good, it's real easy to be positive. But mentally tough people can find a positive spin when the chips are down. And to me, really, this is the bottom point here, but being positive when the chips are down, when everything's going wrong, that's one of the biggest indicators of mental toughness I think that there is. And this is something that you need to train yourself to do. If you're out to put it in wrestling terms, if you're out in a wrestling match, you get taken down, you start shaking your head and putting your head down, well, that's going to really decrease your chances of coming back and having the rest of a good match. So you need to train yourself for that, and you need to expect you need to prepare yourself mentally for bad things to happen, and know that you're going to have to deal with them. Expect them. okay, and have a game plan to deal with them. And typically that is just a matter of, you know, recognizing that you got negative thoughts going on and just changing them, consciously changing them into positive thoughts until those positive thoughts take over. So if you can do this, if you can have a positive attitude, no matter what situation you're in, you can put a positive spin on anything, you're going to pass up 95, if not 99% of people out there, because it's just human nature to, you know, when things go bad, just to really get negative and really, you know, kind of go into a downward spiral. So if you can develop this positive attitude at all times, always kind of, you don't have to be happy all the time, but you need to try to stay positive in a positive frame of mind, no matter what situation you're in. That's going to build some serious mental strength. And accountability. When a coach corrects you, does it upset you, or do you have a sense of urgency to correct things? You know, this is something that when my wrestlers understand this, they start to get good really, really quick. When they stop either making excuses for themselves for a poor performance, or, you know, for whatever, you know, whatever situation would warrant an excuse, they start to get better really, really quick. You know, they hold themselves accountable. They can analyze what they need to work on, and they have a sense of urgency to work on those things. That really encourages development, quick development. Because most people are really quick to throw a pity party. You know, if things aren't going bad, they'll either come up with the excuses, or they'll, you know, somebody will give you an excuse all the time. They can just latch onto those. So if you want to separate yourself from the pack, you know, develop that skill of holding yourself accountable. And I'm not saying you have to beat yourself up. You just have to recognize, hey, I need to work on this. This is what I got to do. Maybe you ask a coach, a teacher, a mentor, a parent, hey, how do I fix this? And then you have a sense of urgency to fix that. And then, you know, if that cycle is always going on, there's always development. There's always development going on. You're always moving forward. And 142 story, this mindset when I was in college, I believe was a big reason for my success. My sophomore year, I wrestled 158 pounds. I tell my wrestlers the story all the time. I wrestled 158 pounds. Halfway through the year, they pulled Joe Williams out of red shirt, and I had to wrestle him off because I was kind of having an up and down year. I just lost a match. We lost a duel against Minnesota. I lost in that match. We got back. I had to wrestle him off. Well, he beat me off the team. Lincoln McIlravy was at 150. So I couldn't beat him at the time, and the rules were different back then, so you could get away with a little bit more weight cutting. But you know, I was devastated. I was upset. I wasn't in the lineup, and my mom was upset. And you know, I talked to her afterwards, and she was upset that the coaches did that to me. You know, and I said, Mom, I'm not the best kid for the team in that spot. I'm not the best wrestler at that 158 spot or 150 spot. Well, they should move this guy this way. And I didn't buy into that excuse. So nobody's perfect. And we all fall for these traps. You know, everybody is not following this advice at all times. But if you recognize, you know the importance of these philosophies, and as a coach, regularly discuss these with your team, you're going to encourage unique growth. Because if you understand these philosophies and you catch yourself maybe feeling sorry for yourself, not being positive, and you can kind of fix those things because you understand the importance of them, you're going to really separate yourself from most people, because most people just can't do that or won't do that. So if you can get your guys, your athletes to understand the importance of these three traits, it is going to, you know, it's going to help them on the mat, academically, and in life. Okay, we got week 1 of office hours, and I had Raymond, I believe that's how you pronounce your name, Raymond, sent in a question for me. I just had one coming today, so I'm going to try to go in depth on answering this. And it just says, how do you help your heavyweights What do you do different to help the kids at 220 and up? Where should I go in Greco techniques, or do I stay in regular neutral techniques? This is a good question, and this is something that I do deal with regularly. So basically, so how do I take care of? I basically throw them in the big guys, your 220s, your heavyweights, and your new guys, kind of in the same category a lot of times. And what I'll do is when I go in and I want to teach, I want to go over a certain skill set or cover some certain techniques one day. I will have what everybody else is doing, and then I will create what my big guys, new guys are supposed to be doing. So I'll kind of break it down for you. So let's say a good example. Let's just say we're working like on open offense. We're going to work on our shots from the outside. Maybe we're getting tie-ups and we're snapping off and we're shooting from the outside. And let's just say this is what I'm covering. Maybe I'm going in and out, and I'm coming back in, and I'm hitting a post up. So I'm getting a guy to faking ties, faking shots, getting a guy to reach. And I hit a post up to high crotch, double, power single. And this is kind of what maybe I go over with everybody. Let's say some low singles. You can kind of snap off, get moving on the outside, and hit some low singles. And let's just throw in, I've had some guys good at duck unders. Let's say you work a super duck. This is kind of getting advanced. And you work on coming in and a front headlock, kind of pouncing on the guy, bang, and cover front headlock from the outside. And maybe let's just throw in a knee pull, like a low knee pull single leg. So this might be too much. Maybe after you've taught all this stuff, maybe you can click through all of this with your more advanced guys or your middle weights, your lighter weights. But if you get to the point where you're kind of throwing all this out there and you're doing some drills with this, when you do this open offense drill, you might have this list right here for the majority of the guys, and then you come up with your big guy, big/new guy version. Okay, and we'll stick with the post up. They should be hitting that. They can come in and out, post up on a guy's elbow, and hit their high crotches, the doubles, power singles. But maybe we'll take low singles out. Our big guys aren't hitting low singles. So maybe while they're doing low singles, it's always good to kind of match these up so when you're calling it out, they know what to do. So maybe you say, okay, when everybody else is doing low singles, you do your favorite post up. So they kind of double dip on that. Okay, when we're working super ducks, and maybe you switch this around. Maybe you go to your bang and cover. If you're putting this together, you might map it out so it flows a little bit better. So maybe you go bang and cover, front headlock, and then when everybody else is going to super duck, they just do this again. Or maybe they do another. Maybe they jam an underhook. They come across hard and jam an underhook, snap to front headlock, something like that. And then then say other front headlock set up from open, and then when they do the low knee pull, they might not be doing that. Maybe they come across and they jam an underhook to just a driving single, a snag single. Okay, so that's a lot of times your big guys, your newer guys, if they're hitting those snag singles, it's a little bit easier. They're getting underneath an opponent. They're not hitting that knee. So this is just real quick off the top of my head, but that's kind of the gist of it, And then you can do this on any series you want. And some series they'll cross over. They'll probably be comfortable doing everything that everybody else is doing, but kind of map out what you want the majority of your team doing, and then kind of just look at it. And then what I'll do is before practice, I'll get a I'll kind of designate one of my assistant coaches throughout the year to kind of hang out with these guys when we're drilling and when we're teaching technique or going through drills, and I'll say, hey, and I'll just walk through this real quick with them. Hey, when we're doing when we get to power or we get to low singles, have them do their favorite post up. Just have them double dip on their favorite one. And then I'll just kind of walk him through so he knows what to do. And that way, if I get going and I forget to call it out, the big guy, new guy version, he'll know what to do, and he can stand and he can stay nearby, and he can correct their techniques and work with them as well. So that's kind of a practice strategy that I like to get going when we're teaching technique, and then when that technique leads to drills, you create just two little playbooks for each of them, and that way they're not, those big guys and those new guys, they're not wasting time on techniques that they probably are not either going to ever hit, or it's going to take a while for them to get down. They'd be much better served focusing and getting a lot of good hard reps on stuff that they're going to get some immediate success with. So that's a practice strategy that I like to use right there. And then I'll tell you what, for big guys and new guys, to get them scoring quick, I like to work a double underhook series. And you kind of talked a little bit about Raymond kind of talked a little bit about Greco techniques. This is something I've had a lot of success with, and I'm gonna pull up in my takedown series in the Ultimate Wrestling System in the takedown section, week 9. I'm going to pull up week 9 here, and week 9 I go over my double underhook series for the first part of it.
I got Jake and Daniel.
And then we go in towards, I think that's about the first 38 minutes or so is my double underhook series. And really there's like 3 or 4 techniques that I really like to get big guys doing, and and new guys. And they can typically get some good success with it. But let me just play this for a bit, and I'll kind of point out some of the finer points of what they really need to focus on. And in this little series, there's some more advanced stuff in there as well. But I'll kind of point out the stuff that I really like to sink my teeth into with the big guys.
Here, we're going to go over low on the back. You're going to put your ear in the chest. This is the position you want to get to.
Okay, so it's good when you're first teaching the double underhook series, the Bodylock series, is kind of start, kind of reverse engineer it. And I'm pretty sure that I do that in this video. Let's watch this.
You're going to stand there with your feet wide, arms wide right there. And I want you guys, when you do this, you're just going to get in here, and I want you to split them with your lead leg. You're going to lock low on the back. You're going to put your ear in the chest. This is the position ideally you want to get to when we throw a guy up for double underhooks. Okay, so we're just going to come in here. I want to split them. I'm squatting right here, ear in the chest, lock low on the back right here. Okay, I want to see you getting in here. Once we get in this position, we're just going to drive with our head, bend them backwards, squeezing with our elbows coming in, taking it down, and we're going to, if I'm looking to the left, I'm going to walk my feet out to the right. Just bring them on down. Okay, so we're just going to get in here. I want to see you get in this position. Okay, and we're just going to walk, driving down. And when you take them down here, I really want you to focus on driving your head, your shoulder, keeping them on his back. Right there.
So that's what I'll do when I'm first teaching this. Is I'll put them in there in the ideal position and make sure they understand what that should feel like, and all the finer points in there, because if they don't understand that they need to get their hips in there and split the guy and get their ear in the chest and stay in there tight, have the lock on the lower back. Well, if they don't know what that feels like, then they typically can't get there or get close to that in the live competition. So I like to just put them right in there and make sure I'll put everybody in there, look around the room, make sure everybody's got that perfect position, like I went over right there, and then they know how to finish it. And it's really big when they finish. Make sure that they're always, like I pointed out there, driving your head and your shoulder, burying your shoulder, trying to keep the guy in the back. Because if I don't point this out, I'll get guys that'll get this and they'll just let their opponents roll off their back. And then if we focus on really finishing it strong, then we get more pins, we get more back points off of that. That's what we want to get. So I like to start them off, kind of reverse engineer it, start them at the finish, let them know how it should feel, where they should be, and then we'll go in. And the first thing we want to do is just learn how to just jack them up and get double underhooks. And let's just go into this here.
Get into your finishing position, crunch, squeeze. Over here is a headlock. Okay, and the more space. Okay, so when we start throwing this thing, when we start jacking a guy up in here, if we start locking and my butt is out, the one thing that you're vulnerable for here is a headlock. Okay, and the more space he has between the hips, your opponent has between the
It's an important concept for them to understand is to keep those hips in there, and that's going to keep the guy from throwing his hips in front and hitting you with the headlock. You can block him with your hips, because most of them are going to want to keep their butt out. That's something you got to get them good at, jamming those hips in there, trying to split them with their lead leg. That's going to make a big difference.
We're just going to come in there. We're going to get one. We're going to get one hook in.
This is how I like to teach it right here, so they can kind of understand. They come in with one underhook, and then they're going to explode to the other.
Once we get that one hook in, then we're going to boom, explode to double underhooks. All right, and when we explode to our double underhooks, so right here I got a hook here, or I got a hook here. Okay, when I get my underhooks, I'm just grabbing the lat right here. Okay, I'm not getting into real deep, so he can overhook me and start working stuff. I just want to grab the lat right here. Okay, so we're going to get that one underhook.
That's actually a concept that I've been working with some of my better guys this season, just not getting those underhooks in too deep. I've had some of my better guys that are good with underhooks. They've been getting in trouble or not been scoring as much as they should when they get in there, because they're just sinking that arm way in there, and it gives the other guy too much leverage.
What we're going to do is we're going to penetrate. We're going to split it with that lead leg. Ideally, we want our hips in there tight. We're going to do what we call a high curl. So it's like we got a curl bar here, all right? And if I want to curl a whole bunch of weight, I couldn't do it with my butt out. Okay? I want to curl that bar up way up over my head like this. All right? I want my hips in with me, and I want to be lifting him up in the air with my biceps as high as I can. I'm going to lift with my hips, my arms right here, and then I'm just going to drop into my lock. Ear in the chest, lock low in the back. My hips should be in at that point.
That's another really important thing you want to point out is that high curl and how they have to have the hips in there to do it. And then it's best if you get, when you're drilling this, to get the partner kind of sagging on him so he can feel that weight. So they sneak one underhook in, they close the gap, they sneak one underhook in, and then they're going to explode the other one right into splitting him with that lead leg, high curling them, and then dropping, lowering their level, ear in the chest, right into that lock. And then that's the first thing you're going to look for is just dropping into that body lock and crunching him down. These guys are going to hit a couple here. See right there, they'd be better off if the partner was sagging a little bit more. He could feel that weight and doing a little bit more of a high curl. These are some of my younger guys, so they're just figuring it out. But if you get them sagging, make sure they're high curling with those hips in there. That's going to make a big difference.
Okay, this is what I want you to do. Now lock. There you go. I just throw up here. This coming up high.
That's another drill I'll do when I'm teaching the guys, especially newer guys, is I'll give them one hit it where they come across, they're high curling, they're splitting with the lead leg, and they keep doing that, and the other guy's sagging. They keep doing that until I give them a second hit it, and that's when they drop into the lock, and that just gets them to understand how to keep those hips in and throw them up and really curl. Just want to make sure they understand that and they're actually doing that, getting the hips in, splitting them, doing a high curl. So I kind of put it into a two-step process and make sure. So they'll come, I'll say hit it, they'll come across, jack them up, jack them up, jack them up, jack them up, and they keep doing it. The guy's sagging on them. They're really feeling how they're picking the guy up with their hips in there. Then the second hit it after they do it for a while, then they drop in to the body lock and crunch them down. Just one way to really get that point across.
Okay. There you go. Good block. Good.
Just like that right there. And I'll make them do it a lot longer sometimes just to really get the point across.
That's much better. He's back here. See that? I'm real strong right here. If I got my foot, my lead leg in there, splitting him, I'm good. Even if he goes for a headlock here, he can't get his hips through. I'm fine right here. I'm committed. You can't grab my legs, obviously. So I got my
This is another drill I'll do. I'll get their hands locked way up there high, and they're going to have to come in and just kind of ratchet into position. So if he's got his hips in there, like I pointed out, he's going to be safe. He's not going to get headlocked. The guy might be sagging, but if you get your hands locked, I mean, you got a pretty significant advantage. They need to understand that, so they're just going to kind of ratchet into position.
When I start getting out in here, I'm in trouble. Headlock, hips through, boom. I'm done. Okay, so we're going to get in here. You're a lot stronger here. Split them. All right, I want you to get real heavy on me, Daniel. Yep, and you're just going to lift with your hips, throw them up. Right there. You're in the chest. You're in the
It might take, a couple times to ratchet into that low lock on his back, ear in the chest. But if you don't point this out, they'll get those hands locked, and they got a real big advantage, and they'll let go, or they don't quite understand how they take advantage of it. So you get them locked way up in the pits. The guy's sagging real hard. Make sure you're splitting with the lead leg, and then ratchet up, throw it up, using those hips and that high curl action, and teach them how to get in there.
chest, lock them. Yes, yeah, nice. That's good. Right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw them by just like this. I'm going to shrug them by. Okay.
This is when you get in there and you get the hands locked up high. This is something you can teach the guys. It's kind of like a second level technique. Basically, I like to start off teaching them how to get them jacked up and do a body lock. And then when if you don't get your hands locked and the guy's sagging real hard, snap the front headlock, and then you get the guys getting hit with some. I kind of teach the defensive guy to hit a headlock, but mainly so we can feel that and do a Wreath Row, which I'll show you here in a little bit. So the first three things I really try to get them good at is jacking them up, getting body locks. If you get your hands locked and he's still sagging, ratchet it down to that ear in the chest position. If you don't have your hands locked, he's sagging real hard, pull out to front headlock, which I'll go over here in a second. And then if the guy does sneak a headlock in on you, how to Wreath Row him, and I'll show you that as well.
And same thing here. Right here, I'm just going to throw. One thing about throwing, sagging hard, cross step. You're good. You can't get it. Boom. Cross step, throw them by. What we're going to do is we got here, right, Louise, direction, snap the front headlock. Okay, so start over here so we got some room. Okay, I got one hook in. One more. I can't get it. Boom, right there. Okay, take this leg back. So you can't grab that leg.
I'll use that same drill. I'll say hit it. They got to come in high curl, split them, and you get that guy really sagging low, and maybe he's even pushing off your hips and your thighs. Rather than to continue to try to get him up there, he's sagging so hard. And you don't have your hands locked, then you pull out to that front headlock right there. It's a good little combo. You get him jacking him up, and like I said, if you jack him up and he's sagging real hard, but you get your hands locked, well, you're going to try to ratchet to that body lock. But if you don't have your hands locked, then you're going to get him to snap right there to the front headlock.
Let me get your shock absorbers on your forearms here. There you go. Right here. Okay? Then right away, I want to come, boom, here. And then we'll just move around for a little bit in that position. Go ahead.
Really, if you're doing this, to get the big guys and new guys scoring, get them to that front headlock position there. Make sure they take their hand out because, it's a little more advanced to have a front headlock with an underhook. Get to that chin and pit position, and then just have them circling and pulling them down the mat. And when you pull them down, you go to that inside knee, but just drag them down. Just relentlessly get that front headlock, get chin and pit, and just pull it down, pull them down, and then you can go, backhand or head in the hole, something that they know how to do. But just keep it basic and relentless.
Yes. Ankle pit. All right, yep. Okay. Defensively, what I want to do is I don't want these hips close. Okay, so I'm going to sag and I'm going to block.
So I'll go in and I'll teach how to throw a headlock here, because they'll get that down, but mainly so they can feel it and teach them how to do the Wreath Row next. So you watch this video, you can see how I break down how to kind of sag, create some space, and then hit him with a headlock.
Right here. I'm going to try up here. It's going to come, boom, cross. Oh, that was good. That was good. Hips away.
And honestly, when I'm first getting this down, I'm not really concerned with them, having perfect technique with the headlock. More so, just get a feel so that this guy, the offensive guy, knows how to feel that and go into his Wreath Row.
This is up. I want to block those hips. Push off. Knock those one off. Knock those hips. That'll be a quick movement. I'm blocking where you should be and how to counter it. So let's say I'm in here. I'm trying to get this right here. All right, I'm trying to throw it up. Daniel goes for the headlock. Now, if I got poor technique and I'm trying to throw this out here with my butt out, it's going to be hard to stop this thing. Okay? He's going to go hard for it. I got to at least be in good enough position to stop him, slow you down, so I can get my Wreath Row here. Okay, so if I got poor technique, I don't know if there's any stopping it against a good guy with a good headlock. Right, but at least if I got good technique, I got my hips in. He goes from this boom right here. I'm going to lock around his body, on the rib cage right here. Right, and my hips are tight up to slow him down a little bit. Now, if I just hang out here, he might get those hips through and take me through. All right, but I'm going to lock right here. I'm going to step around the front. Okay, and I'm going to sit in my chair. Boom, I'm just going to squat. I'm just going to take him right on through. Right here.
Make sure when you're teaching this Wreath Row, break this down slow and have them, step in front, sit. They don't have to lift and sky the guy. They're just going to go with the momentum. So they're going to step in front in their chair, sit back in their chair, and just continue the action and go through. And then as they go through, he really wants to bury the right shoulder into the chest and keep him on his back. But make sure you don't get these new guys picking the guy up and slamming him when you're doing this, or doing it real hard and twisting the guy's knee. Just make sure they know how to step in front, sit in that chair, and just continue with the motion that the guy throwing the headlock already started. And just do it slow until they get it down, and then pick up the speed.
As I take him through there, I want to think about this shoulder getting buried in his chest, looking for the pin. So I'm taking him through it here. I want to think about squeezing elbows tight, buried.
This is important because if they don't do that, they're going to hit this Wreath Row and they're just going to roll, and the guy's they're going to get a takedown off of it, but the guy's just going to get to his belly. So you want to try to get those back points. So really get them focusing and understanding how to bury that shoulder as they take them through on this. And in this, when we do this in freestyle, especially Greco, if we work in double underhooks, that's when I make sure they pick them up in the air. Like they don't roll through like this in freestyle and Greco. Otherwise, they're going to give up points as well. When we do that in freestyle and Greco, I make sure they know that they got to stop. They got to pick the guy up in the air and make the referee understand, 100% for sure whose move that was. But in folk style, they can just kind of take it on through. They can roll with it.
Shoulder to chest. You're taking it a little bit bigger. So you go for it. Right here. Ooh, I stop him. Okay, I can't just hang out here. I got to step in front, lock, just tight, squat, take him through, coming through, bury the shoulder right here. Okay, look for the pin. Okay, so let's go Wreath Row. You're trying to.
So that's the three main techniques I'm going to try to get guys good at. My new guys, or my real big guys, jacking them up to body lock. Guys sagging real hard, don't have your hands locked. Snap the front headlock, and then the Wreath Row. If a guy tries to throw that headlock on you and he kind of gets you a little bit, go with that momentum and Wreath Row him. And then if you watch this, the first 38 minutes or so of week 9 is all about covering that double underhook series. So there's some more stuff in there. You get to do some throw bys and some other techniques in there. So if you got some big guys and they're getting good at that series, you might take it to another level. Show them, check out this video. Show them a couple more techniques in there. But this is much easier than getting a new guy or a big guy getting caught underneath, hitting his shots. And most high school and youth kids, if you start going upper body and start jacking them up, they'll bail out. They don't want to be there. They don't know what they're doing. They just freak out. They just think they're going to go to their back, so they'll just turn away and bail out a lot of times. But what I do with this though is I'll show this, and sometimes my heavyweights, my bigger guys, they'll really latch onto this and they'll get good at it real quick. And then sometimes they don't feel comfortable. Some guys don't feel comfortable. So I'll teach it to them. We'll drill it a bunch, but I just never do it in a match. And there's a drill that I like to use that kind of forces them to use this in practice, and they start to get a feel. And I call this the demon drill. So this is in the skills and drills section under practice drills. And I'm going to pull this up. Pause this. This is a really good drill to get typically the bigger guys that don't start doing the upper body stuff right away, they're just not as physical. So this is a way to get them in there working it. They start to get a feel and just make them a little bit more physical. So I'm going to this isn't a very long video. I'm just going to walk you through it and kind of point out some things, but this is a really good drill.
Hey, Coach Weber here, Coach Sonny, the Professor Close, and we're going to go over what we call a demon drill. This is a great drill to really get your guys to chain wrestle, to learn how to brawl, because you get against a good guy, you got to be able to put multiple holds together. You got to be able to attack the legs, attack the head, attack the body, look for angles. This kind of puts it all together. It's basically like a little separate game. It's got its own set of rules. We'll explain the rules here. And a lot of times we'll do this in practice, and we'll say, okay, first one to score 5 points, first one to score 3 points wins, something like that. Okay, but there's a set of rules that you got to follow in order to score points. This is how you score points. You score points.
So this is also good for your middleweight and lightweight guys too, because basically what I tell once they get some techniques down, I tell them they can't be one-dimensional. Like you can't just all be about shooting underneath the guy. You can't just all be about getting a front headlock. You gotta combo those together. I call it going over is a front headlock, going under are your leg attacks, going around are your drags, pass-bys, passing elbows, finding angles. And if you can, start to combo those things together, if you can go out and try to snap the front headlock, you can't get it, boom, then you leg attack, the guy's coming out of his stance, he's reacting, or you're faking shots, or maybe you're shooting, you can't get to the legs, boom, then you snap the front headlock, or maybe you drag, you find an angle. If you can start putting that over, under, around stuff together, that's when you can really start getting good in the neutral position. And this drill does a great job at forcing them to do that, because if they go out in this drill, you'll see here in a second, and all they try to do is try to get a front headlock, well, the guy's just going to stand up on them. Okay, so this works really good for your upper weights, your middle weights, everybody.
By getting a front headlock, right, and getting him down to his hands right here, hands or knee down this position. This is not a point. Not a point here. Okay, so you get a front headlock on the feet, no good. No points. You gotta get them down.
This drill also, we attempt to break bad habits or build good habits. So you get a front headlock. In order to get your points, you gotta understand how to take control of the guy and drag him down to the mat.
You get a point if you can lock around the body. You get a body lock. So if I'm in here, right here, boom, I lock around.
So this is encouraging, attacking the body, the body lock, the double underhook stuff. So you're going under the guy with that. You're going over the guy with your front headlocks.
The body, that's a point. If I lock around his arm and it's trapped to the side, that's a point. This is not a point right here.
Developing good habits. You don't want to hang out over that arm. If you can understand to trap it to the side, you're going to be a lot better off.
So you want to arm, but it's got to be trapped to the side. You get a point if you get behind the guy. Boom, right here.
That's going to encourage drags and pass-bys and just hitting angles, trying to get around the guy.
If you get behind him, get control behind him, you're going to get a point. And lastly, you get a point if you have a single leg, you got a high crotch or a regular single leg, and you're on your feet. You don't get.
So we try to emphasize to our guys, the best place to finish is come up to your feet. Come up to your feet. You're always going to have more options. You can scramble better. And this helps if you got guys that hit double legs and they hold on to them too long and they get sprawled all the way down to their belly. This will teach them to hit. If they do hit a double leg, they'll switch off to that single and get to their feet just to start scoring points. You can, I don't know if I pointed out here in this video, but we do give points too if you have a double leg and you get them in the air.
things. You're going to have hands locked, so you're down here, boom. That's a point, that's not a point, not a point, not a point down here. Okay, high crotch, not a point, not a point, right here. So sometimes you can get guys all the way down, their butts right here, kind of maybe in a crackdown situation. All right, but this is not a point, it's not a point, this is the point. So, single leg, double legs don't count, well, double legs do count, I'm sorry, we have added this rule. If you have a double leg and he's in the air, that's a point. Okay, double leg anywhere else, even this is no good, this is no good, this is all right. That's a point. Okay, so as you can see, it teaches you to get a front headlock, to work the head, get a front headlock. And when you do get a front headlock, have control of your opponent, bring him down to the mat. It teaches you how to attack the body, find angles. You know, if you're working drags in here, you're going to get a lot of this to score points. If you get on a leg, you got to get to your feet. You know, head up, get to your feet before you get your point. And the more they do this, the more they figure out that when they start doing one thing, it leads to another. If I'm trying to get a front headlock, okay, it makes it that much easier usually to get to the leg.
So if you put your guys out there and you say, okay, the first one to score, 4 points, 5 points wins, then they're going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to start. They're not going to be able to just force one thing. They're not going to be able to just snap to a front headlock. The guy's just going to stand up on them, like I said. So you're going to force. They're going to start to figure stuff out. They're going to start getting tired. At first, it's going to be really hard for them, but then they kind of develop some little tricks. They'll start to set the guy up. They'll fake shots and hit drags, or they'll fake shots and hit front headlocks, and they'll start to combo things together. Because if they don't, they're just out there forever, and they can't. They're going to get real tired, and they get wore out. So after a while, they figure it out. The smart ones do, and the other ones you got to kind of maybe walk them through it and give them some options and tell them, hey, you need to start doing this and this. But eventually, they'll get good at brawling, and they'll get good at chain wrestling. And it's not quite a full takedown that they're getting, but if you can get them chain wrestling like that, they're going to get in position to score a lot more often. They're just going to wrestle tougher, and they're going to be kind of in your face a little bit more. You can't get any of this by just hanging out. You got to attack the guy. You got to get physical with them. So that's what makes this a great drill. So that's how I handle big guys, getting them scored on the feet, and new guys. Give them a set of techniques. And first part of the year, you might just be showing everybody the same thing, but kind of lead into drills and evolve into maybe 2 sets of skills that you're working, just so they get a lot of reps and they can start scoring points. They start feeling comfortable in some situations where they can start getting takedowns. Split them up in practice. If you want to get focused on some takedowns, some upper body techniques, double underhooks, body locks, and then front headlocks. You can't get that. Wreath rows, and then you can build off of that. That would be the first 3 things I'd get them good at. There's little variations of each of those that you might do that you can work as well. And then, if they're not getting in there, they're not getting physical, do a lot of these drills. These drills are good for everybody. I mean, even the light guys and your better guys, I'm telling you, most high school kids, if you get in there and you start going upper body with them, and you're not in a position where you're going to get in trouble, you got your hips in there, they just freak out and they bail out, and you get a lot of points just by coming across hard and trying to jack them up. So that's kind of how I would handle that situation, and look at the different series that you're doing and break them up. But I hope that helps, and I will talk to you guys soon.